We both
Pretty
need
much.
a mohawk. Yeah, we should both have a mohawk. I feel insecure about my hair now. It looks so pretty. Okay.
No,
So
I love your blue hair.
Stop it. Okay, so if you feel... Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 11 of Coven Conversations. I am PoopWitchX, or Haley, and today with me, I have the amazing and beautiful and so smart and talented Drifterdreams, who we are going to be discussing Greek mythology today. So thank you so much, Drifter, for joining me today. I am so excited to talk to you about this, and I have a lot of questions because I don't know very much.
Really happy to be here. I'm like super excited. I took a Greek mythology class this semester, so I learned even more. So.
Yes. Okay, so I wanted to ask you first and foremost, what got you into the Greek mythology? Was there has it been part of your life forever, or is this a new sort of passion?
So I kind of got into it freshman year of high school, so that was a while ago. My English teacher actually assigned us to read Percy Jackson, and that involves Greek mythology. So I got really into the book. She only let us read the first one, and then I went to the library and got the rest, and I realized this is based on like an actual thing that exists in our history. And so like I dove really deep into it and stuff. And I listened to different like podcasts, and I've listened to Crash Course, because they've done a lot of like different types of mythology type of things too. So that's what I really like.
So your like, because there's all different mythologies, but your focus is the Greek mythology. Okay.
Yes.
Is this something that you feel, because I feel like for me, I'm one of those people where my sort of thought process when I think of mythology is the Odyssey. That's like my extent, and that was my first introduction to it myself when I was in high school. How do you feel like someone like me should get started? Is there a book or a podcast or something that we should look at?
So I feel like personal information wise, I feel like it would be just really good to start off with who the gods kind of are.
Okay.
Because otherwise, if you jump into a story, you won't necessarily know their significance or
That's
like
how
what
I feel.
they're
Yeah.
in control of or anything.
Yeah.
Like there's like a lot of like really weird like background as to how these gods came to be. A lot of them are like siblings, and some of them married their siblings and stuff. That's very well known and stuff. So.
Yeah. Okay, so to get us started, I think that like for me, I know Zeus and like Aphrodite, but like tell me the sort of gods and goddesses that maybe are your favorite or something you learned a lot about.
Okay. Yeah. So my favorites, I wrote them down too.
Yay!
I really like Athena. She's the virgin goddess of intelligence, and basically what happened is she's the daughter of Zeus and technically of this woman named Metis and stuff. But so he didn't want her to give birth to Athena, so he ate Metis and then gave birth to he gave birth to Athena through his thigh.
Wait, whoa.
So
you are
like,
dropping bombs of knowledge. I had no idea any of this. Okay, so wait. So Zeus gave birth to Athena through his thigh?
Yeah. Like, and his wife, Hera, who was also his sister, was really jealous of that and stuff. Like, oh my gosh, this guy thinks he can give birth on his own like that and take away like this thing that us women have been able to do forever and stuff. And so she was like, I'll have a child of my own too. And so she has a child on her own, but supposedly something went wrong, and that the child didn't look like imperfection and stuff, because gods were known for being like physically perfect, emotionally perfect, mentally perfect, and everything. Like the standards of what a perfect human could have been and stuff. And so what happened was it's either Zeus or Hera. It's not fully like 100% either of them, but one of them basically threw the child of Hera off a cliff. And he ended up being, I think something happened to his leg and stuff. So he was no longer considered any type of perfect and stuff. So.
Oh my, whoa. Okay, so I feel like one of the things that we all seem to know about with Greek mythology is that these gods and goddesses were larger than life, and they were sort of, there were so many of them, and they all have different abilities. So everyone kind of knows Zeus's, but what are Athena's abilities? What was Zeus's wife? What was her name again? Myra?
Hera. So it's
Hera.
H-E-R-A. So
what are they known for?
Yeah, for Athena, she was the goddess of intelligence and of wisdom and like victory in battle and crafts, but specifically crafts meaning like weaving and pottery.
Oh,
because
interesting.
yeah, her twin, not her twin. Because there's somebody else that's known for that. One second, it's Apollo, who has a twin sister named Artemis. But so Apollo's mostly well known for creative arts and stuff. But to go back to Athena really quick, so she was known as like the defender of patron cities and stuff, and like she was basically like somebody that was you'd pray to for guidance in war and stuff because you wanted to get victory in battle kind of thing, and she was really wise, so she would help not just in strength but in like cunning and like being able to like think your way out of situations and stuff. And then as for Hera, she being the one that possibly threw her own child off of the cliff is the goddess of motherhood.
The irony. I love that.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people actually don't like, or didn't at the time in Greek mythology like her that much because she was like the naggy wife, basically. They're like, just let Zeus get away with some things, but like, no, Zeus. They had every right to be like, no, she has every right to be like, no, Zeus, stop doing all this stuff because you're being like a real douchebag.
So if you were to put the Greek gods and goddesses in a pyramid where there's the top of the pyramid, which would be like the sort of the ones that everything comes from, the most powerful, how would you, who would you say was the top of the pyramid?
Well, based on mythology itself and not from like personal opinion or anything, I guess it would be Zeus at the top because he's the one that got rid of the Titan, who was his father, Kronos, who wanted to eat all of the kids / gods and goddesses and stuff. He was the one that was like, no, you're not going to be eating any more of your children and stuff, basically, and got rid of him and became like the leader of the 12 Olympians. There's more than 12 gods, but there's like the Olympian gods where like they're like at the top, basically. They're in charge of more things. And on his side would be Hera and everything, but you would usually base it off of the males, sadly. So the trio.
I'm not surprised.
Brothers. So Zeus, who is the god of like lightning, very well known for that. Then there is Poseidon, the god of like the ocean, the sea, and everything. And then there was Hades, who is god of the underworld. And although people associate him with like, oh no, the death and everything, he's also associated with money, which is interesting. So lots of people would pray to him for like, please help me like with like my wealth and everything and my crops. And
are they related? So it's like Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. You said they're brothers?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you feel like, just so that like for people like me where I've heard, you hear all the names and they sort of become synonymous with lots of other things. So it's sort of, it's interesting to understand how they are related through each other and the story. So after the three brothers, and I guess like, are they all married or do they like, do they have people on their side or?
So Hades ends up with Persephone. Persephone is not considered one of the 12 Olympians, but she is a daughter of one of the 12 Olympians. So her mother's name is Demeter, and Demeter is like, she's in control of like all the weather and everything. That's what she's most well known for. And she gave birth to Persephone. Persephone is supposed to be the goddess of the spring. And I don't know how well known their story is. Like, I know it really well because it's one of my favorite stories. And there's like two different ways it could have gone. And I chose to believe the happy one, But not
I would do the same thing. Persephone's story.
So Persephone was this goddess of spring, and she's just like minding her own business and everything. Hades is always, under the ground in the underworld. He visits the earth, sees Persephone, and goes like, "Oh my gosh, she's gorgeous, she's beautiful, and she's so nice and everything." Like he loves all these qualities about her that he doesn't get down there. So he, so in one version he kidnaps her, and in another version he invites her down. I choose to believe the one where he invites her down.
I hope that he invited her down too. Okay.
So inviting her down, and then her mom, not knowing that any of this happened, is like, "Where's my daughter?" Pretty much, because like she wanted her to be like always there and stuff. She was one of those overprotective, technically, moms, and so Zeus knew about what was going on and didn't tell Demeter, which really upset her when she found out what it was. So what she did was she was like, fine, then if you won't bring her back, then I'm just going to cause like a ruckus and a rage, and I'm going to make it so that nothing grows, and it's going to be like a bunch of thunderstorms and everything. So she was like making the weather really like hard to bear with. So in the underworld, Hades offers Persephone a pomegranate. And so there's one where he non-consensually doesn't tell her that once you bite into this, you're going to have to like stay down here and stuff for some period of time. Like he'll be forced to stay here. And then there's the other version where she chooses, she's like, I actually do want to stay here because I actually do love you and stuff. So she takes the bite, but we'll tell her mother later, oh, I didn't know and stuff, you know? So
wow.
That's why later on when she goes back up, Demeter's like, what did you do and stuff? You bit this thing. How many did you bite and stuff? And she was like, well, I bit this many. And so that's why we get winter, spring, summer, and fall. That's what explains the seasons, because when it's fall and winter, that means Persephone is down below and Demeter is sad. But when it's spring again and summer, that means that Persephone is back.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
That's actually, you know what's so fascinating about that is that I feel like, first of all, I the first thing that the archetype of fruit is sort of interesting, and it's very synonymous with a lot of different mythologies and religions, the apple, Adam and Eve, the pomegranate with Hades and Persephone. So that sort of is a really interesting storyline that seems very familiar, you know, someone tantalizing somebody with some kind of fruit, which is very interesting. But what I really like about that story is so many of us just go about the day and the seasons and we just are like, oh, you know, but there's so much history and story and ideologies behind all of these things that happen around us all the time that we might not have known about. So that's a really and who was Persephone's mom? Was Demeter, who was the goddess of weather. Was that Zeus's daughter? Persephone was Zeus's daughter?
No, so they don't, so actually, yes. So supposedly that, but that they're also siblings again. So like, again, this is like a really big, like, there's a lot of incest involved when it comes to the gods and goddesses. So yes, Zeus is the father of Persephone, and Hades is the brother of Zeus. So
that's her uncle.
Also, like, yeah.
You know what? You know why? Okay, I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, but like, isn't it weird that like there's so much incest in this? Like I don't know. I just got
No, it definitely is. It's not even like a bad question.
And people worship, and like incest is considered in most religions and ideologies a sin. But then we have these gods and goddesses, and honestly, let's be serious. Even in like our living truth, like real royalty, incest is like. No, all right. I'm just going to put that. I'm just going to sprinkle that little idea on everyone. Like, what is that about? Keeping the bloodline. I know, like, that's a weird thought too, but like what? Like, all right. Anyways, so, okay. So we have Persephone's story. And then I love that story, by the way, because like as a green witch, I love nature so much. And I honestly, in witchcraft, there is a lot of worshiping Greek deities all the time. So Athena is a very popular one. Who was the not an Athena, but there was another one that you said, but like Demeter, I've heard people worship Demeter for, you know, Mother Nature and things like that. So it's really fascinating, and I love that. Okay, so what is like another story?
Teach me. I've got here, oh my gosh, I've got stories on gods and goddesses. I've got ones on heroes and demigods and all of those different types of things. Right now, since we're on the topic of gods and everything, I might as well bring up the story of, like, this will involve women. So the story of the fight between Athena and Poseidon over a town. So there was a town that they wanted to have a town named after them. And stuff. Of course. And so they went to the citizens. They're like, pick me, pick me, pick me. And they were like, well, what can you offer us, kind of thing? Because we can't just like pick one of you guys just because and everything. So Athena was like, I will provide you with this glorious, I believe it was a fountain. And then Poseidon was like, yeah, I'll just provide barely anything, basically. I think it was a statue, but I'm not 100% sure. I wrote that down too. One second. Yeah, so they used this as a way to, okay, so Athena was the one that promised the olive tree, and Poseidon promised saltwater spring. So the olive tree was more useful than the saltwater spring. And so they chose Athena, and Poseidon was pissed. And so he got really mad at the town. And because he was in charge of the ocean, he was like, yeah, I'll make it so it'll be super difficult for you guys to fish. I'll make it so like I'll be attacking your town all the time. I'm going to get like really angry and stuff. And so the men told Poseidon, oh, it was by one vote, and the last vote was a woman. And so Poseidon was like, oh, that's what it is. Of course, it was a woman that made it so that Athena would win the town and stuff. So they made it so that women lost their right to vote in Greek mythology, not just in mythology, but as like Greek society. That's how they explained that women can't vote because of this one situation.
Wow.
Like,
wow. Mm-hmm. And so wait, so how, like, this was actually like a law in Greece, a very long, I mean, what do you have, like, how long this went on for until women were able to vote?
I don't have the exact time estimate. I do know that was like, they relied a lot on Greek stories to try to provide like, oh, this is why society is the way it is.
Right.
And again, with mythology and stuff, not to go against anybody who practices with Greek gods as a religion or anything.
Right.
Because again, mythology, actually the word myth is Greek. Mythos means utterance or story. And they use those types of stories as great significance, again, to explain different things in their society. Today, the modern meaning and stuff, it could be seen as like fictitious or anything. But whenever I say mythology, it's going to be like, to again, like these stories that explained all these different things across like history.
Well, I don't think that's unusual either. I mean, even if we look at, and again, I'm gonna take the same sort of statement as you made. Like, there are stories that people shape religions around, and there are stories that people think are stories, and that there are more meaning behind some, and there's less meaning behind some, and it's how people how those stories are applicable to society. I mean, we are still, to this current day, utilizing like the Bible and things like that to, you know, change rights or laws or, how people decide how they're going to live. I mean, so it's still something that happens. And I think that these stories are more than stories, no matter how you look at them for people. And so I appreciate that you said that. I didn't know that mythos meant stories, which is really, really fascinating. So what was the town that was it Athens?
Did they becoming Athens for Athena because they didn't want to name the town Athena for some reason. I don't know what they would have named the town had they chosen Poseidon. Honestly.
So wait, they didn't go with Zeus or Athena. They're like, we're gonna just go Poseidon. It'll just be safer that way. Like, okay, we don't want to involve you. That's funny though. Okay.
I don't particularly know why they chose to fight over that specific town or anything, but I know that was the town's reasoning for, again, how they got their name and for why women couldn't vote.
Very interesting. And I honestly am really curious how long that lasted. Like, I mean, it's a very interesting little piece of the, Greek history, is that this huge thing was decided because one woman voted against this god in favor of a goddess, which is very interesting. And I think, in general, would you say, I mean, obviously it sounds like it because it sounds like Zeus and Hades, like all of his brothers were sort of in charge, but I still feel like a lot of the goddesses are very synonymous with strength and with I feel like they're very strong. Yeah. And that's actually not a common archetype. It's always sort of, women are always looked as like these beautiful, fragile, birthing of babies. But in Greek mythology, women are badass. They're not necessary, and they don't take 100%. A lot of. So tell us more.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring up a topic that involves the Greek goddesses and stuff. So, so some people will argue against it, and there's proof for and against it. So anybody can have their own types of views. But there was this idea called the Greek goddess idea, the great goddess idea. So there was evidence from 1000 BCE to 30,000 BCE that suggested that goddesses may have been the focus of worship until the Bronze Age. So and that this history was erased by men later on because they were like, women shouldn't have this much control or authority or anything. It's the men that should be put on top. So supposedly, again, it's that there was a based society at one point, and that it got taken over, supposedly. and the proof that they have with that is seen in things like the art and the architecture that is provided at the specific place where this is at. I wrote this down too. So it's the system of belief was replaced when, the migrating Indo-European people emphasized patriarchy, war, and male divinities and stuff. So they brought their own like male-based things and stuff to this supposedly matriarchal society that was not necessarily just based on peace just because it was women, but that supposedly did have peaceful moments and stuff more so than the Indo-European society that brought in the male-based gods.
So the rationale behind that was that the matriarchal society was too war-centric. Is that what they initially thought? But when the patriarchy came in, it actually did become more war, like battle-centric. So that's kind of ironic.
So basically, so what happened was it's seen in Minoan art that there was like that there was more women-based art than male art, and that women were depicted as being more part of rituals and being more part of the important tasks that were usually given to men in rituals and stuff, because of like, men are most powerful and stuff, right. That like women were seen as equal to men in certain paintings as well, because they'd be seen doing the same types of tasks that a man would be doing at the time and everything. And women were also appreciated more. There are people that could say that the appreciation, for example, female bodies was based on what men thought they wanted and stuff, but that at the time women were seen in bare-breasted in some pictures and stuff, and it comes across more along the lines of appreciation to most people, because it doesn't seem like something that like men would be like, oh yeah, I want to hang this up in my home, because like it seems like it's something that's like an appreciation type of art,
right. It wasn't sexualized.
No, yeah,
right. It was just like how women are. That's what they look like. It wasn't supposed to be something that was sexualized. So okay, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
There was women picking flowers. There was women that were part of the bull leaping, which was something that went on. I don't necessarily know much about the bull leaping. I've only seen the one painting.
What is bull leaping?
That, so.
What is that? Bull leaping?
So it in the illustration, it seemed like it was something that like it looked a lot like the matador type of things, like where they hold the red cloth, even though it's not, you can use technically any cloth, it's not just red, but it's when you do that and stuff, and they would relate that later because it would also involve sacrificial animals to the goddesses later. So
I don't like that. I love animals. I don't like that.
There's lots of sacrificial animal things
in every religion, in every religion. But yes, a lot. It's unfortunate, but yes, yeah. Okay, so it was like basically women depicting basically like the bull sort of like jump. I guess they would jump over it or something. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, something along those lines. Okay. Yeah.
They weren't riding the bulls, right?
I know. No,
okay. I was like, I can't imagine, like, you just don't envision women back then. Because a lot of, also the things that come to mind when people think of Greece back then, like AD and all, is like the movie 300 and like Spartans and against the Athenians and how like even growing up, that's all we really like. I remember there's a huge segment of world history where they taught us about, that's when I read the Odyssey, and they taught us about the Spartans versus the Athenians, and the Athenians were crafters and painters, and the Spartans were all like throw babies off cliffs and war. So like that's sort of the thing that you think of, and again my mind goes a lot to the male imagery of all of those things. So it's really fascinating that maybe a lot of history was leaning towards a matriarchy and all of the things that women did that were just as good, if not better, or equal to men, but society over time has erased that part of history and reconstructed it with a different narrative. Is that kind of like...
Yeah.
You seem so disappointed. You're like, yeah, unfortunately.
They really try to cover it up. It's like, there's people that are like, oh, this art's being misinterpreted. It's just this and stuff. And they just painted the women like this and everything. But this is what we base a lot of our history on as well, because even Greek myths were told orally. A lot of the time they didn't write a lot of the things down, which is why some of them are like, did this happen or did this happen? Which is why I said with the Persephone story, some people say it's this, some people say it's that, because again, the scripts were told orally. They were not written down like 100%, like, oh, this is what it was.
And like, stories can change over time as long and as far away as this happened. And historians, it's just like the game of telephone. Things can change, perceptions of what happened can change. So it makes sense that the story will change. And I like your story where she did it willingly, because like, come on, man, there's like enough unwillingness in the history books, okay? Please. So wait, so you also said, so there's like gods, goddesses, and then you said there's demigods and there's like Olympians. Those are all things?
So the Olympians are the 12 main gods. So Zeus is included in that with his wife. And Hades and Poseidon are also included. And there's more along the lines of those. And then there's some that like they're not considered as important, but they're still known as gods and everything. Sometimes it's because of an unattractive quality, or that people had no need to worship them as much as they did the other 12.
Right.
Stuff, if that makes sense.
So like, give me some examples of the ones that aren't maybe as popular or well known.
Okay. So Dionysus and stuff. I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name.
I would not know if you were or were not.
So
no idea.
It's Zeus's son, and but they believe that the woman's name was Semele, and so Dionysus was known for, I believe, so he was known for grapes, wine, intoxication, and inspiration in plays. So he was not considered one of the main 12. However, oh wait, no, maybe he was. Maybe I'm wrong. No,
there's a lot of them to remember.
A lot of them to remember, but Dionysus was one of the ones that actually was one of the, I guess, 12. Or it's a little confusing sometimes when it comes to remembering which ones are the 12. But basically, he has some negativity in like his plays and stories that were written about him. Because of him being the god of drinking and wine and everything. And there were people, especially places that were like trying to like keep like a control and a rule, that were like, no, you guys shouldn't be like partying this hard or doing this much.
Right.
So there is actually a play about this called Oedipus Rex. And
I think I've seen it. I think I might have. I've either heard of it or I've actually seen it. So I know what you're talking about. Yes.
So so there's Oedipus Rex, which is about a good king who's admirable and stuff. He saves Thebes from this curse of the Sphinx, which made him the king of the first place. But this same type of story leads to different people like thinking about how fate cannot be changed or avoided and stuff. Each thing comes with like a lesson and everything. There's the Bacchae, which involves there's a structuralist conflict at heart, where so now Dionysus becomes involved because Dionysus represents this extreme excessive form of freedom, while Pentheus, who is the king, represents an excessive form of control. And in that, he ends up being killed by his own mom. The king was killed by his own mom. And because of Dionysus being like, oh, you won't let people worship me just because like I want them to feel more free and stuff. I want them to like, open up more. Fine, then I'm going to take your mom. I'm going to put her in this extremely wild woman society in the woods. And you're going to try to have your people come and go get them. But anytime anybody tries to interrupt their activities, they'll kill them. And I'm going to force you to go check out your mom and be like, what's my mom doing over there? And your mom won't be able to stop, like, because she's so wild now. She won't even remember that you're her son. She'll think you're a lion, basically.
Okay. I also have to tell you something that I'm pretty sure just blew my mind. So I don't know. Have you ever, okay, and this goes for anybody listening right now. Have you ever seen the show True Blood?
I have not.
Okay, so this is what's really weird, and this is how my life is coming full circle right now. I've seen True Blood a million times, and there's a season where, and I kid you not, the big bad is named Dionysus, which I think is who you're talking about. And it's a she in this, though. She is a god of, like, partying and sex and, like, going wild, and she basically creates this town in Bonta in Louisiana, and they all are going crazy, and there's like wine everywhere, and her name is Dionysus. And then when you were saying that name, I was like, this sounds familiar, but like she can't be talking about that god in True Blood. And now I think that it was actually because in chat, Bacchus was also, they called her Bacchus, which is the Latin name for Dionysus. So I was like, I think that Drifter is talking about something that I only heard of and thought it was literally fictitious in True Blood. So that's how ingrained these stories are and how they get manipulated for current, you know, consumption and entertainment. But I had no idea that her storyline was based off of an actual Greek god. No idea. They just called her a god. They didn't say she was like she had origins, and like I had no idea. How cool is that? Like that's so weird. You just like connected something in my mind that I would have never even thought about. I thought that they made it up. I had no idea that they actually grabbed somebody from, and as you said, how they tried to control Dionysus because Dionysus was out of control. They did the same thing, and she was represented by a giant bull thing. Is that part of his story in Greek mythology? There was like this huge bull thing. It was like weird. I don't know if that's like part of the actual Greek myth story or if True Blood just, I don't know.
So Dionysus's symbols are the grapevine, actor's mask, and a staff topped with a pine cone called a thyrsus and stuff.
I don't know.
Supposedly people thought it was symbolic of the male genitals and stuff, but
everything has to do with boobs and genitals, I swear. Okay, but that's really interesting. I actually feel like I'm gonna, if I do a rewatch of True Blood, I'm gonna have a whole new appreciation, and I'll probably pick up more things that you're teaching me, because like references, because there's a lot of goats and stuff, and they build this huge like structure which they put grapes all over it, and I'm like, my brain is making connections right now. It's so crazy. So that's really, really cool. So Dionysus, or I think that's, well, at least that's how they said it in True Blood. I don't know if that's
yeah, that sounds accurate. Yes.
Okay. That was in the Greek. That was Zeus's son in the Greek myths. Okay.
So he is one of
Zeus. And is he a god? He would be considered a god, right?
Yeah. So it's even though it was a mortal that gave birth to him, they didn't consider him a demigod, which was really interesting. It was that he was so powerful that he was able to fully become a god. Usually, when a mortal and a god have a child, it's usually considered a demigod. But for this, he was considered a god, which is why it was confusing me for a second. I'm like,
yeah,
like he was made one of the 12 later because he wasn't one of the 12 in the beginning and stuff. He actually, what I was confused about was him replacing somebody, because he replaced somebody. So he replaced
someone got shafted.
Yeah,
someone got booted.
Hestia's place. That's why I was really confused. Yes, so Hestia is known for, like, she's being really mundane, but she's known for her caring nature and for being really reliable. And because people didn't have to pray to her that much and they had to pray to the party god and stuff, he basically, like, replaced her as one of the top 12. But she was initially one of the 12 first, and then, you know, the switch happened.
So demigod is when a god and a human make a child.
Yes. And so even though for this story, Dionysus, can you say how you pronounced it earlier?
Dionysus. I think I'm saying it wrong now too. When you say these words too many times, it all sounds like pudding after a while. But yeah, Dionysus, I think.
Yeah, so even though his mom was human and stuff, they still list him as a god and stuff. So it can be kind of confusing sometimes.
Let me ask you just a side question. Is what's weird is in a lot of these sort of myths, or even like in Moana, like I know this, I'm sorry, my brain is making connections with like other but like, you know, demigods, are they, you know how sometimes when in like supernatural and stuff, just bear with me here. When a god or an angel, you're literally connecting things in my brain right now. When they make a baby with a human, the child from a superior being and a human makes a stronger being. Is it the same way in Greeks, or are they not as strong as a god or a goddess because they're half human? Or are they more strong?
They won't be as strong as a god or goddess at first. They can become a god or goddess later. You have to request that from Zeus usually.
You have to put in a request.
What I know.
Oh,
Kind of not like a request, like, here's my paperwork. This is what I'm good for. Like,
That's so interesting.
I have another one written down. Okay, Hermes was son of Zeus and Maya. It's spelled M-A-I-A. I'm gonna say Maya for now, okay?
Sounds right.
So he son of Maya, basically, and they lived in a cave because of Hera, and they were like, no, we don't want to have Maya get killed or anything because Hera got jealous. And rightfully so, she should be jealous. I mean, her man's sleeping with everybody else, but like, so
wait, who's her man again? Who's her man?
Hera is married to Zeus.
So wait,
and
wait, wasn't Zeus? Wait, is that the same lady he was married to before?
So Zeus is married to Hera, and from before, yeah. So Hera is a well-known goddess and stuff. The goddess of motherhood is what she's
right. That's who I thought. Okay.
He slept around with a bunch of other people, which led to all of these gods and goddesses being born as well. Like, he has a lot of children with a lot of different other people. I've got a family tree here. I don't know if it'll show up if I lifted it up to the screen.
If you could take a picture of it and you want to put it in Discord, I could pull it up. But you don't have to right now. But this is okay. So you're basically telling me that Zeus slept around a lot.
Yeah, and not just with women.
You know what? I'm not surprised. That was actually a very common thing in a lot of history, and especially with Greek history, there was like, I remember there was like male saunas, if you will, or like bathhouses, and there would be canoodling happening. So it's not unusual. Okay, so Zeus is sleeping around, and then continue your story in the cave. So you're setting the scene right now.
So I'm setting the scene in the cave. So romantic now, but like, they were in the cave, and he was supposed to stay there because he was a baby, but he looked like a man, even though they refer to him as like. So it's a little weird because like they say that, oh, he slept in his crib. But yet later on, he was able to walk and talk to his own mother at like age of day 1. So obviously it's because his father is a god, so he was a demigod, and supposedly demigods came out like very manly, not necessarily babies. So he was the god. He became the god of luck, roads, boundaries, travelers, merchants, gamblers, and thieves.
What was his name again? Say his name one more time.
Hermes, so Hermes.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So what happened was he was just considered a demigod at first, but then he had this like plan of day 1 since birth. He's like, this is how I'm gonna become a god, and he did it. Like, he basically was like, oh, I'm gonna leave here. I'm gonna steal some other god's animals, and then that other god is gonna try to come find me. But I'm gonna make it so hard to find me that I will walk backwards the same steps I arrived. I will make the animal walk backwards the same steps they arrived. I'm gonna bribe this man and tell him like don't tell on me, like, to this man, which is why he's also like one for travelers and thieves and everything. But so he took it and he hid it and stuff, so that when that god came over, that he could be like, oh, I don't have it. I was just born. You can't say that I went out and stole your animal because I was just born, like, for real. And he was like, no, I literally know it was you, because like it wasn't too hard for the gods to like figure things out because of them being all high and mighty and everything. Right. So they brought the complaint up to Zeus, and Hermes was really good at like avoiding certain truths and stuff. So he was like, I'm not lying to you, but I'm not telling you the full truth either. So he ended up losing that case, but becoming friends with the god that he stole the animals from. I'm trying to remember which one it was that he stole from. And if anybody in the comments remembers before me, please tell me, because I'm trying to look through my papers. But I think it was Apollo, yes. So he stole Apollo's animal and stuff, and then Apollo got really mad, but then they became friends later because Apollo saw that Hermes had invented the first lyre, which was one of those like, I think.
Wait, lyre. What do you mean?
like an instrument, like a Lyre.
Okay. I thought you meant he was the first liar. Like he was the first liar. And I was like, what do you mean he invented lying? Oh, these are their gods and goddesses are lying. Okay. Lyre, Lyre. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Instrument. Okay. Just for anyone who's like me, who was like, what do you mean he invented lying? Okay. Continue.
Sorry, yeah. Let me know if I ever confuse you. I talk fast, but like I will stop.
I am following. This is like a soap opera. I'm like popping popcorn over here. It's crazy. Keep going.
So he saw that he invented the lyre and was like, oh, here is this. You can have it if you really want it, to Apollo. And Apollo was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Wow. And like he forgave him. And then
Apollo was the god of music. So that was like a big thing for Apollo.
Apollo was actually the god of creative arts, but it included music. So Apollo was the god of specifically light, reason, prophecy, masculine beauty, plagues and health, and creative arts.
Gee, wait. Why? Wait. Everything else made sense until you said plagues. Why? Why?
So he's associated with the plagues. I'm not entirely sure why they made specifically in charge of that. It seemed like so there's also something that says that they bundled up all of these important gods and put them into smaller people, which is why there's only 12, but supposedly there might have been even more than the 12 that were important, but they got pushed into something else, like combined with somebody else. Got it. Like, oh, this needs to be put here instead.
Condensed or something. Okay. Interesting.
And
okay.
Speaking of plagues, Apollo actually has a son named Asclepius. So really weird to pronounce, but Asclepius is actually the god of healing. So his son is the god of healing, and he is the god of plagues and health.
That's very interesting. But maybe he birthed something to well, not him birthing, but like him and who did Apollo sleep with to have Eclipsius?
So I couldn't find any information on who was the mother of Asclepius and stuff. I was only able to find out that he had a son overall. And I know who gave birth to Apollo and everything. And that
maybe it doesn't. Maybe like whoever he slept with, they birthed something to counteract his plague thing, and you birth what you need, and it's healing. So that's kind of interesting. Okay. Yeah. Huh.
That was actually something that like my Greek mythology professor asked us. He's like, what would be a good god to pray to right now? I'm like, this one for the Coven. It makes sense.
Healing. And it's Eclipsius? Is that how you say it?
Asclepius.
Asclepius. That's fun.
I'm spelling a lot for you and for chat, and I hope you all don't mind. It's so Asclepius.
I don't know how to say it still, but I like these words. These words are really fun. So also, going back like a second, so is it common that all children gods grow differently than human children? So like they always, it wasn't specific to Hermes. No,
a lot of the times they would be described doing man things at day one of birth for some reason. I'm not entirely sure 100% why, because it's very confusing to visualize, especially when you're like, is this guy a baby that's as strong as a man, or is he like, did he come out of her as like a man or something?
Yeah, like did he walk out of the womb? Did he just like get his briefcase and he's like, all right, I'm here now. I got stuff to do, Mom. Like, peace. Yeah. Oh, and Asclepius was medicine, healing, like a healing god, which really does make sense if his father is like the god of 100 things and also plagues. So that seems to make. Did Apollo have any other children?
Not that I was the only child. I mean, of significance. Right. If he did have any other children, then like it's possibly in like a minor story and stuff. So,
also, can I ask a side note question? You said Hermes was the god of like clothing and merchants, right?
So he was the god of travelers, thieves, merchants, gamblers. He was also the messenger god. So whenever somebody needed to have something said or delivered to like a human and stuff too, he would do that kind of thing. He also guided the dead to the underworld and stuff.
Wait, what? Yeah, he just in his spare time?
He a very busy guy, honestly, based on
and he's a demigod, right?
So he was considered a demigod, but Zeus made him a god because of his cunning and his like skill and everything and all that he was able to be.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah. Which is why I'm like, it gets confusing sometimes when I try. But technically, they could become a god later. Like,
can I also ask you a potentially dumb question?
No, go ahead, yeah.
Who made Zeus?
Okay, that's not dumb. It's not dumb at all. So,
okay.
There were these. So before the gods came the Titans, and the Titan father of Zeus was named Cronus, and the Titan mother of Zeus was named Rhea. And so Cronus was like not a great guy. So before them, I don't necessarily know what you call them, but there's Uranus and Gaia, and they were like the body representations of like the world and everything that was like big. There wasn't like anything like minuscule as lightning at the time and stuff, which is so Zeus was not there yet or anything. But like so Uranus and Gaia,
I think
gave Gaia.
Gaia is a big one in witchcraft.
Yeah.
She's like the biggest of all the goddesses of witchcraft. So keep going. This is interesting. Okay.
So Uranus and Gaia gave birth to Cronus and Rhea, and Cronus and Rhea, although being siblings, incest, gave birth to all of the different gods, such as Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Hades, Demeter, and Hestia. So all of them came from them. And at the time, Cronus was like, I don't want to be overruled by anybody. I don't want anyone to take. So I'm going to eat my children. So he ate anybody that came from Rhea.
Isn't there a famous painting of that?
I believe so, yeah.
It's like they're ripping the...
Mm-hmm. In the painting, you see him literally chewing the head off of somebody and pulling it like that. And it looks really creepy. And
it's really scary.
It looks really creepy to convey that type of thing. But he didn't actually do it like that because everybody still came out whole. So what he did was he swallowed them whole. And his body was basically like this jail for them. They were still alive inside, but he was like, y'all are trapped in here now and you can't get out because I'm really
Jesus
strong. Jesus
Christ. How many did he eat?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think he ate 5 of them, and he thought he ate Zeus, but he didn't because Rhea was like, "I want to give my children a chance because this man's eating all my children. I don't want him to do this just because he's selfish and doesn't want to share any type of rule." Yeah. So he was like, "I'm gonna hide Zeus. I'm gonna hide Zeus away so he can get strong and big. And I'm gonna give him a rock instead and see if he'll fall for it." And Cronus fell for it and ate the rock, thinking it was Zeus.
What? So this all-powerful mega god eating all of his kids like their cereal was like, this rock is my child. Like, all right, well, okay. I feel like that was like, I wish that they, I mean, all right. Well, good for Gaia for keeping, it was Gaia, not Rhea, right?
Yeah, so Rhea was the one that was married to Kronos and stuff. Right. Gaia, can you say how you pronounce it again?
Gaia.
So Gaia was the one that gave birth to Kronos.
Oh, so Gaia was Kronos' mom.
Yes.
So is there anyone higher than her?
Not that I know of.
Okay, personally. And that actually makes a lot of sense because Gaia in like paganism, witchcraft, is the primordial goddess of planet Earth. She's the one that all of the green witches, a lot of them worship or have altars to her because she's synonymous with like literally Mother Earth. So she's like the mega boss of everybody.
Like
okay.
Gaia was the one that also that got Kronos, the one that's Zeus's father, to help get rid of Uranus. So which was his father. So Uranus and Gaia were together.
What was Uranus known for?
I don't 100% remember what he was known for
fine.
off the top of my head, and I know I probably have it in the notes, but I think I wrote too many notes for today.
We'll have to do a part 2.
If you want, but like
no, I would love to. This is so informative and so much fun. Oh, Uranus is sky in the heavens, which I guess makes sense if Gaia is Mother Earth. Like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Okay.
So to get rid of Uranus and stuff, Gaia was like to her children, she was like, my children, I need you guys to help me. The plan is I'm going to distract your father, and one of you is going to cut off his genitals.
Wait. Give that to me again. Give that to me again. Say that again. Wait, what? I was following you, but I was half reading chat, and then I heard cut off your genitals, and I was like snapped right back to reality. I was like, wait, what'd you just say? Okay, sorry.
So Gaia was actually on all of the children that she and Uranus had given birth to and stuff, because he was also very power hungry, like anyone else to take over. So she told all of her children, I have this plan, and if you all love me and want to overthrow your father, then please help me. I'm going to distract him, and one of you guys can cut off his genitals. And all of the children were like, a lot of them were like, oh my gosh, that sounds a little but Kronos was like, I'll do it. I do it now. It's coming in. He ended up doing that, and then he ended up putting himself in charge, because he was like, I got rid of the head honcho, so now I'm the head honcho. And then that's what Zeus ends up doing, because Zeus, after Kronos eats the rock that was not Zeus, later on grows powerful and strong, and ends up, I believe it's slicing his father open to release all of his siblings.
All right. Damn. Wowza. Okay, so what you're telling me is how we get powerful. Slice and dice. In every way. Okay, so that's what we gotta do, guys. No, I'm just kidding. But like, that's really, really like, and it's actually really fun. So wait, but no one usurped Zeus in a way. Like, no one.
No. So what happens with
no one's safe.
Somebody was meant to do that, though. Somebody was meant to do that, and the person was never given birth to, because somebody else warned Zeus about it in exchange for like less punishment for what they had done. I don't remember what this guy's name was at all. I know it started with a P, man. But like, basically, so this guy really wanted to help humans a lot more, and was like, he liked tricking Zeus into like getting less than what Zeus thought he deserved. And so Zeus was like, I'm not gonna have this. You can't do that. You're going to be punished, basically. Prometheus. Thank you. Bang bang Beatrix. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, it was Prometheus, and so Prometheus gets punished and has this. And although he's like this, he's a Titan, and although he's an extremely powerful Titan, is punished by having this by not being able to move or leave this one area of the world. And a bird comes every time his eyes grow back. But so this bird comes and eats his eyes out and then leaves. And then anytime his eyes grow back, the bird comes back, eats the eyes, and leaves. So it's like continuous torture for the rest of his life. So something to get him out of that was, he told Zeus, he's like, I can tell you which person to not go have relations with, so that you don't have a kid that will overthrow you as well. And he's like, oh gosh, yes, tell me and I'll release you, basically. So he's like, okay, it's this person, it's avoid this person. And he's like, okay, I can do that, okie dokie, I'll go with everybody else on the planet except for that one person. So he prevents his own downfall, basically, by just not doing anything with that person.
Jesus Christ. And then Prometheus didn't have his eyeballs eaten anymore.
No, he was able to be okay. Free to the extent of, as long as you don't mess with us anymore, you're fine, kind of thing.
Okay, so also just going back to Gaia and Uranus, right? No one, so, because Tofa was asking, so like no one created them, they've just always been. So is that how you'd interpret them, as like how, you know, in Judaism or Christianity or Catholicism, they look at God as they've always been here? Is that how that would be represented in Greek mythology?
Yes, because instead of Uranus actually like representing, he represents he like this sky and this, like, no, he is technically supposed to just be the sky. He is the sky, and Gaia, and again Gaia, thank you, is supposed to literally be the Earth.
The Earth,
like, based
they're
on
not
the way
a
that
body.
they spoke about it.
Right. It's not like they don't take form as like a man or a woman, but they are represented by the imagery of a man and woman to make sense. But they really are the earth and the skies and the heavens. That's sort of how it would be differentiate. Because like God has many different representations in different, you know, religions. But in this, you know, so, okay. So that makes sense. And so Zeus never gets usurped. technically.
No, not technically, no. And
honestly, I kind of feel like he earned it. Like he avoided his own downfall. Like even before that guy was born. That's like pretty, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty badass. Like,
yeah,
I'm impressed with Zeus.
Zeus is not necessarily like, so Zeus only became that smart through the knowledge of other people and stuff. And it's like his own daughter is supposedly smarter than he is, which is why Athena is the goddess of wisdom and why he prayed to her for wisdom and not Zeus. Like,
yeah,
but like she's the one that came out of his thigh. But the reason of that was because he was like, he at first was like, I don't want this woman to give birth to my child and stuff, and he technically held Athena in for as long as he could until like, okay, she got to come out of my thigh at this point. Like,
wow. And it's kind of interesting that like there's just, you know, for me, I just feel like there's so many correlations with other religions and things like that. And, it, you know, if you want in stories or whatever, but it's interesting that Adam with the rib creates Eve, and then Zeus with his thigh makes Athena. Like, all right, where men are just popping out babies like from thighs and ribs here. It's just, it's interesting how there's overlap with, you know, people don't think that these stories, even with the apple and the pomegranate, there's so much overlap with these stories because it's very interesting. It's very interesting. And I think that could be its own topic even, like how all these things that happen throughout humans and how myths and religions and stories have evolved, how there's so much overlap between all of them, which is, it's pretty fascinating. It really is. I feel like I hate to tell you this, but it has actually been an hour, if you can believe that.
That's totally okay.
Which like so like I'm pretty sure that everyone here is gonna demand a part 2. Myself included. This was so informative. I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface. Like, I need more, okay? I need more, Drifter. Like, I want to have an entire lesson with you. Another one, okay? Like, okay, this was so much fun. And also, I just love how, like, talking about this, you're so, like, excited and passionate. And it's so nice when people are so into something. Like, it makes me so happy. Like, I did not even know that I'd have this many questions. Like, I was like, I'm gonna let her tell her stories. But then the more that you told, the more I was like, wait a second. Like, amazing. And I feel like, honestly, like, I don't even know how to say thank you because this was like so much fun and so informative, and it was so good. Like, what the heck? Like, thank you so much. Like, can we get a freaking round of applause? Like, I love this topic. This was one of the ones I was more nervous about too because I have very limited range of knowledge. And
it's okay. I was so nervous too because, like, again, I wrote so many notes. I'm like,
but your mic cut out. But like, seriously, we need to do a part 2. Like, I cannot say thank you enough. This was a blast. Like, this was so good. Like, oh my gosh. Thank you so much. And honestly, like, I feel like this kind of maybe even invigorated a passion within me to learn more about something that I didn't even realize was so interwoven with society in so many ways. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. And you're coming on again, okay?
Thank you. Yes, you're coming. I'm really looking forward to it.
I love it. Thank you so much. Today was episode 11. This was like the fastest friggin' hour of my life. Thank you so much, Drifterdreams, for joining us for episode 11 of Coven Conversations. I am PoopWitch or Haley, and there will definitely be a part 2 to this. So thank you guys for joining us. I am so appreciative. Thank you again, Drifterdreams. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll have you again. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Let me see.